Hi, today we're going to talk about hooking up an airbrush to a shop compressor like my trusty Porter cable here. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, primarily you would do it to save money rather than buy an air compressor that's dedicated to an airbrush. You can use pressure cans, but pressure cans have problems in that they don't last very long and you can't really control the pressure coming out of them. Plus it gets kind of expensive after a while. Some people would say that a shop compressor is noisy, and in fact they are. They're very noisy. But when the tank fills up with air at maximum pressure, the compressor shuts off. And when your tank holds 125 psi and you're shooting through an airbrush at 25 to 30 psi, then you're going to go for quite some time before this air compressor comes back on to refill the tank. Once it refills the tank, it shuts off again. So you can either airbrush through the noise or you can stop and wait for it to recover and then start airbrushing again, which is what I do. At first I thought this was going to be a simple project, and research kind of indicated that it's a hit or miss proposition. I couldn't find anything that specifically addressed with the pieces and parts that you need to actually hook it up and make it work. So I decided to go out and find out how to do it on my own. I got all the parts at Home Depot, and I'm going to show you how to do my hookup to the Porter cable, what I did and why I did it, and then perhaps you can adapt the same strategy to your air compressor. So let's get started. This is the output side of the compressor. The brass fitting that you see in the middle of the picture is called a quick connect fitting, and you can attach or disconnect different accessories that you would use on the compressor, so it's a permanent type of connector. You can also see the male connector has a shape to it, and there were two different ones at Home Depot, so you might want to take a snapshot or an actual fitting to make sure you get the right one. The next picture we have is a little bit further away from the quick connect, and on the left is a pressure gauge that shows the pressure inside the compressor tank. The one on the right shows how much pressure is going outbound, and you can set that up or down to what you want to do. For the airbrush, I set it at about 30. Next, we have just a shot of the different pieces and parts I used. On the left to the right is the way it's installed, with the airbrush hose being on the far right. The next shot is of the 4-inch brass pipe, and the reason I got a 4-inch pipe, it's got male fittings, it's a 1/4-inch pipe. I wanted the filter to be outside the area of the compressor tank so that if I wanted to drain moisture into a container, it would be easier to do. You might want a shorter pipe if that's the case. You're also going to need to Teflon tape it, so make sure that you have some Teflon tape on hand. Next, we have a shot of the filter. I chose the smaller of two filters that they had, figuring that an airbrush operating at the lower pressure wouldn't produce a lot of moisture, whereas a larger filter would be used with nail guns or other filters, things that you want to filter moisture out of. I don't use one normally. Next, we have male connectors, which you would use to connect pieces and parts together. 1/4-inch is a measurement, and most compressor pieces and parts are 1/4-inch threads. This is a picture of the filter that's outside the box, and you're going to be looking at a valve at the bottom that turns clockwise or counterclockwise depending on whether you want to open it or close it. So to drain moisture, you just turn it and open it up, and then when you're ready to airbrush again, you turn it off. In my testing, I didn't have any moisture coming out of this filter. This is everything ready to be connected together. And next, this is a shot of everything that has been connected. My airbrush is a Badger hose, and the Badger is nice in that you can fit either 1/4-inch or 1/8-inch fittings to the hose itself. So that brass connector that you're seeing in the picture has a little 1/8-inch fitting on the inside, so you can hook it up to a compressor, or you can hook it up to pressure cans, or you can hook it up to an airbrush compressor that has an 1/8-inch fitting. Really nice. Next, we have the pressure shown is the tank is filled up, and I've got this output setting on about 30 psi. And in the testing I did, I would put the airbrush on full outflow without any paint going through it, and the tank would last for about 2 minutes before the compressor came back on. And I was just flowing with no paint. It took about 10 to 15 seconds to refill again, and I also tried without any paint going through it, trying while the tank was being refilled, and there's no pulsation or any kind of disruption to the airflow. So if you wanted to just airbrush right on through, then you could do that, and hopefully without any problems. This is the last shot of the whole compressor setup, including the brass pipe that shows the filter outside the tank, so that if I wanted to drain it, I could. Well, I hope this helps you in your pursuit if you want to do this, and I'll see you the next time around. Thanks.